Nice
Hi.
to see you today.
Yes, it's so good to be back, and I'm excited about this topic because I know it's quite a frequently asked question here in South Africa. So
Exactly, and we can speak, I think, the whole day about this topic.
definitely.
Cool. So today we are going to talk about what it's like to teach online in South Africa. We are going to look at the good and the bad.
Yeah.
So tell me, in your own opinion, what are some of the pros to teaching online in South Africa?
Well, firstly, for me, a pro would be the flexibility. So I've never done well with structure. I like to structure myself, but when I'm in like a very structured environment, I don't enjoy it that much. So I like the flexibility of being able to structure my own day and, kind of teach when I have the time. And if something comes up, I don't have to teach. I'm not kind of nailed down to
Yeah.
do a 9 to 5 job if I don't have that time. So that would be my first pro, is just the general flexibility of teaching online. And how about you?
I would say that I definitely agree with what you're saying, but I also feel that the peak times from I think it's from 11 to 3 is such a great time for us because we don't have to worry about working early hours in the morning or late at night.
Mhm.
We can basically have, from like 11 to 3, and that's what, like a 4 hour day, and you can earn great money with just 4 hours a day. And like you said, you don't have to sit at your desk from 8 to 5, like with a
Definitely.
normal job. And you don't have to sit in the horrible traffic,
Yeah.
which I hate. I hate traffic.
Yes, definitely. I agree with that. I would say though, on the peak hours point, it just depends on where you are teaching, in which country. So for us, we are teaching in China, and therefore our peak hours fall between 11 to about 3 o'clock South African time. So yeah, I agree. That is so cool. If you want to do something in the morning, you're free in the morning, you're free in the afternoon. So that's definitely a huge pro as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any other pros to online teaching?
I would say just generally working from home. It's really nice. It has its negatives too. I feel, you can get very comfortable, which might
Yeah.
not be great for everyone, and some people may
Yeah.
struggle with it, but personally, I'm fine. I'm good with getting things done. So I kind of like working from home, and that for me is a huge pro as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love it. Like I said, I don't like the traffic. I hate
Yeah,
it so much. And
definitely.
I think this might seem silly what I'm going to say, but we also have amazing weather in South Africa. Like especially where I stay, we don't have, snow and really, really cold, freezing weather.
Hmm.
So we really are lucky and blessed to have beautiful weather.
Yeah,
So I find that it is a lot easier to, teach because we're not freezing cold all the
definitely.
time.
Although today I'm really cold. We've been having a storm, so but this is not always. So yeah, I
Yeah.
agree with that too.
Excellent, cool. So let's look at some of the cons to teaching online in South Africa. What have you experienced?
So I know when I started, I kind of had that viewpoint of, oh, this is going to be so easy and it's easy money to make and it's going to be a breeze, but it's really not. There are some cons to teaching online, as there are in any other job, working in a school or whichever job you're doing, there's always cons. So my first one would be security of bookings, especially now in this time where the world's in so much turmoil. There's been a lack of bookings, which is expected. The whole world's going through a big pandemic.
Yeah.
So that would be my first thing. You don't always have that security of fixed income, basically. Um,
Yes.
you can make it a full-time job, and we have done this, which is great. But there's going to be those times where it's not going to be as busy as it always is. And, you know, there's going to be a drop in bookings and lessons in general. So that would be my first con, is that you can't guarantee a fixed income with this kind of job.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have to make sure that you do have you know, backup, because,
Definitely.
you know, like you said, you won't get the same salary every month.
Exactly.
That is definitely not a guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
And I know like this might be an obvious con, but load shedding, that is the worst.
Definitely.
Yeah, so always just make sure that you have many, many backups in place, because you don't want to let your students down because of load shedding or, you know, unexpected power failures.
Yeah.
When I first started teaching, we one of our substations blew up. So we didn't have power for more than 2 days.
Oh,
So
no.
that was the worst experience of my life, because I was still very new to, you know, teaching online, and I didn't have many, you know, backups in place.
Yeah.
You know, so I was so stressed. My anxiety was through the roof, and I was like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So that for me was my worst experience.
Definitely.
And that happens, you know, quite often in South Africa, unfortunately. So always make sure that you have backups in place.
Definitely. I couldn't agree more. Load shedding is a big pain, especially when you have an online job. So definitely spend a little bit more money at the start and just make sure you're covered for, you know, when you are teaching and that kind of thing. Another con that I just thought of is public holidays and weekends. So often you have to work on those days, especially in this time when bookings aren't that great. You kind of want to get as much as you can, and that could mean that you are working on public holidays when, you know, your friends and your family all have off, or you are working weekends. So just keep in mind that this may happen, and this is something you may need to do for a couple of months or however long, you know, you need to do it for. But that could be a con for, I think, most people.
That's
and
true.
it could be difficult to do, because, you know, everybody else is kind of having the day off or the weekend off. So yeah.
I must say that I always forget that it is a public
I
holiday.
know.
I always do. And I'm like, why are you here? Mustn't you work?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, I was thinking of something, but now it slipped my mind. But yes, there are many, many, you know, cons to online teaching. And one thing that I'm just thinking of now, if you do teach online, you will need to get a criminal record check. And unfortunately, in South Africa, this has to be done every 6 months, whereas in other parts of the world, it's every year, I think.
Yeah.
So that is also a con, because you have to spend more money every 6 months.
Yeah.
But it is a new requirement at the moment.
Definitely. Yeah. So what I do is, as soon as I get my one, I just apply for another one just to make sure I'm up to date with that. It is a pain, but it's a small cost, you know, it's not much, but unfortunately that's just the rule and regulation that we need to follow with our company. But yeah, so just something to keep in mind and to kind of just stay on top of is definitely getting your police clearance, as we call it out here. So and then just lastly, do you have any, maybe share one negative and one positive experience you've had with being an online teacher in South Africa?
Okay, so like I said, the negative would be when that substation blew up, and I had no backup in place. It was a huge learning curve for me. So my advice to you, like Rose also said, make sure that you have backups in place, whether it is a UPS or an inverter or whatever you can afford that you feel is, you know, going to protect you, and to make sure that you don't let your students down. And a pro, enjoy the flexibility and just be patient. You know, like especially if you are a new teacher, don't worry, those bookings will come at some point. So don't be disheartened. You know, it will all work out, and enjoy the experience. And yourself?
So a negative for me would be that I got confused with time difference. And
Yes,
I missed a lesson, which is, I don't like to do that. So, I mean, I don't think anybody likes to do that, but that was quite a negative for me, as I'm usually on time for all my lessons and well prepared. So it kind of was a bit of an anxiety shock, but those things happen. So definitely would be kind of just be on top of the time difference, whether you're working for a company in the US, in England, wherever. And then a pro would be just a general good experience for me from teaching online in South Africa would be that my confidence in myself as a teacher has just escalated so much.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah, due to teaching so many different students on so many different levels and multiple students a day, you kind of get good at it. I don't want to sound, you know, like I'm the best teacher, but it is true. You if you look back to where you started and to where you are now, you can see how much you've grown and just become so much more confident and, you know, kind of just proud of where you've ended up, basically. So that would be a good experience for me since being an online teacher in South Africa. So yeah.
I love that. Excellent. I love that. Cool. So if you guys have any of your own experiences, whether they are good or bad, please can you comment below. We would love to hear from you. And please remember to like, comment, and share. See you next time.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.